Well, good day. I'm Martin Tyner with the Southwest Wildlife Foundation, and isn't this cool? Let me put this out of the way here because that's this. There we go. Get that out of our way. Anyway, I'm Martin Tyner, and we're doing a little live thing here because we wanted to bring everybody up to date on a little story that we're working on here. About 2 months ago, a friend of mine who is a captive breeder of Peregrine falcons um, had a severe brain infection. He was in the hospital for 18 days, had a whole series of small strokes, and became unable to care for his breeding project, his pair of peregrine falcons. Now, this pair of peregrine falcons, I've known about for a very long time. And the peregrine falcon that we have as a wildlife ambassador, Helen, is actually from that pair. And she's the one that I take to all the schools and scout programs and everything. And she has some genetic issues. All the other birds out of the breeding project were just fine, but Helen, had some vision issues, some feather issues, a talon that instead of curving downward, curves upward, and which makes it worthless. And so with Helen, the my friend who was the breeder called me on the phone, says, "Do you need another falcon for your educational programs?" At the time, I didn't. I was fine. And he says, "Well, I guess we'll just have to euthanize her because we can't release her back to the wild. We can't provide her for falconry. She's there's nothing we can do with her." And I says, "Well, bring her over." So he brought her over, and she was a beautiful little girl, and so I just said, "Just okay, we'll transfer her onto my education permit, and we'll just use her for education because it would be a shame to have to euthanize her just because of some disabilities that she had." And so he was very thrilled with that happened, and that I was willing to take her in. So anyway, with his brain virus that he had, his wife called me a couple of weeks ago and had told me that her husband was in the hospital and that it was really bad and really serious, and she did not have the abilities to care for the breeding project correctly. She could just throw food into the chamber. She couldn't enter the chamber. She couldn't provide fresh water. She couldn't really do anything with the breeding project. Um, People don't realize, but when you're breeding falcons, you have to leave them completely and totally alone with virtually no human contact, and that's important because any disturbance at all will have them abandon the nest, and the eggs will die or the chicks will die. So they have to be left completely quiet with especially if it's a natural breeding pair of falcons, and that's what these were. So anyway, I told her that I'd be happy to come over, do whatever needs to be done, and help her out. And then I didn't hear from her for about a week. And after a week, the breeder, my friend, called me on the phone, and it was good to hear his voice. He had just gotten out of the hospital, and but he physically, because of his illnesses, was not able to go into the chambers and take care of the birds properly, and wanted my help to be able to go to his facility, catch the birds up, bring them back to my facility, put them in my chambers, and then try to locate a home for them. And so I went over to his house, got the birds, got them over to my house here, got them situated in clean chambers with fresh water and plenty of food, and everything was fine. And so I did some calling around, and uh, through another falconer friend of mine, he was quite familiar with the pair of birds, and he knew the original breeder of the pair. And so he was able to call the original breeder. The original breeder of the pair is up in northern Utah. And so he called them. The original breeder wanted the pair back if at all possible. And so we made the arrangements necessary to get the original pair up to northern Utah so they could be put in a breeding project as quickly as possible so that they may have some chance of raising babies this year. But it's kind of late, but nevertheless give them an opportunity to do that. And so with the pair, we were able to relatively quickly find them a permanent home. So we're grateful for that, and get them out of my facilities. I could have kept the pair, could have kept it as a breeding pair, but I am so busy with the wildlife rescue and the wildlife education, I don't have the time to dedicate to a pair of naturally breeding peregrine falcons. And so I was really happy that we were able to ship the pair out. Now, something that I did not know is that he had a third peregrine falcon, and the third peregrine falcon, which is the sister to Helen, our wildlife ambassador. It's her sister. She is older. She is 6 years old. And he basically, when she was hatched and raised 6 years ago, she was shipped off to a falconer in Oklahoma. And the falconer in Oklahoma decided that he did not have the time necessary to work the bird correctly. He, like everybody else, he has a busy life. And so he decided to ship the falcon, this female peregrine, back to my friend here in southern Utah, who was the breeder. And so the bird was shipped back here to southern Utah, and my friend decided that she was a nice specimen. She was a nice, reasonably large peregrine falcon, and that he would see if he could find a male for her so that he could set up a second breeder pair of peregrine falcons. And again, one of the issues is that, before they're sexually mature, they're 3 to 5 years before you would put them together to pair bond. And so he had this 1-year-old. He needed to look for a male. And to be honest with you, between his work and his breeding project and everything he had going on, he just never got around to it. And so he had this female peregrine that has been sitting in a chamber at his facility for 5 years. She hasn't been handled. She hasn't been socialized. She hasn't been exercised. She was just sitting in a chamber. Again, you don't want to handle them, exercise them, and those kinds of things if you want them to pair bond to another falcon. And so he saw this as an opportunity to get a second pair. That didn't happen, and so she basically sat for at least 5 years and maybe even 6 years without any kind of help or socialization. Just provided plenty of food and fresh water, but she was basically alone. And so when I found out that she had this female, he asked me if I would take her as well. And my first thought is, oh my gosh, she's 6 years old. Now, that's prime breeding age. But there can be all sorts of emotional damage. There can be all sorts of genetic, because of Helen's genetic predispositions and problems. There could be those kinds of problems. There could be a lot of issues here with this bird. She may not be suitable for falconry. She may not be suitable to be introduced to the wild. She may not be suitable for an educational animal. She may not even be suitable for a captive breeding program. I don't know. And so when I went and got the two, we got the third one, brought her back to my facilities here, and We've had her now for a week. And in that week's period of time, I've put in, probably on average, um, 6 to 8 hours a day, uh, and just holding her and providing food for her. And she's, being acclimated to the environment. She sits on a perch here in my living room where she gets to see the dog. And like last night, we had our family Sunday dinner where we had the grandkids over and lots of noise and activity. And so we're starting to acclimate her to all of the human activities to see what we can do. And so I apologize to everyone that, we put in little teasers about a new member of the family. And one of the reasons is we just have no idea how this story is going to go. Right now, we're going to uh, go get her because she's right here in the room with me, and we'll bring her over and introduce you guys to our new friend. And so, give me just a second here. My pretty girl. I'll grab the glove. My pretty lady. Here's my girl. That's my girl. There's my pretty girl. Isn't she beautiful? This is an Anautumn Peregrine Falcon. And again, she's still getting acclimated to us. She's still getting used to things. And so it's going to be a while. But she's taking things well. Yes, I brought you breakfast, sweetie. And this is breakfast for her. And hopefully she'll eat for everybody. This is quail that I've got for her. Okay. It's right there. You can eat it when you're ready, sweetie. Yes, you can. And so we are really starting very much square one, with what is in essence a 6-year-old completely wild peregrine falcon without any of the advantages of a 6-year-old wild peregrine falcon that has had 6 years of experience flying and hunting. So her fitness level is low. I don't know that she's ever flown in her entire life, other than back and forth across a chamber. It's really hard to know, what her potential is. Yeah, there's my girl. But we're going to do our darndest to get her flying and either into the wild as a falconer bird, as an education bird, as something, so that her life has meaning and purpose.
So we got a
Isn't that right?
question. We got a
Yes,
question from Elizabeth. Wow, so pretty. Is she healthy?
she is healthy, and that's a good thing. There, unlike her younger sister, who has lots of genetic issues, this one seems to be completely normal, and so that's really really good. That there doesn't seem to be. What I worry about more than anything else is 6 years, basically in solitary confinement. Um, what that has done to her emotionally, and so we'll just have to see over. Yes, I know. She likes to do that. She basically will take a bite, and she'll eat one bite, and she'll sling the second bite on me, and so I end up with bits and pieces of food all over me every time I feed her.
Karen Bear says how sad that she sat for 6 years.
It is very very sad. Now I've had this situation before. Many years ago, I was contacted by the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. There was an individual who had gone up into Alaska and illegally stole a gyrfalcon, and the gyrfalcon is the largest falcon in the world, and brought it down into Utah and had it in a cage for 5 years. And the reason they brought it to me was they wanted me to put put together a fitness program to get the bird physically fit enough that it could be returned to the wild, and we were successful. And so she is not a lost cause, and she seems personality wise to be fairly stable. Um, but it will be it'll be a few months before we really have a handle on what her the rest of her life is going to look like. She looks a lot bigger than Helen. She is bigger than Helen. She is. Um, they're both females. They're both out of the same pair. Uh, this particular one is a bit stockier. A bit. Let me turn her this way. She's quite broad in the chest. She's got much heavier feet. They're not longer toes, but they're heavier. So she's just a more stocky built, and that's not uncommon uh, for animals, for siblings, to be of a variety of sizes and shapes. So she's very much a good size female peregrine falcon. In fact, I'll show you the example here real quick. There we go, right behind me. So you guys have probably never noticed this. Okay, there you go. Yeah, the light. There you go. Okay, my brother, my sister, and myself. The little guy is me. My sister is a year younger than I am, and so I was the runt of the litter. My brother ended up to be about 6 feet tall. My sister, I think, was about 5'10", 5'11", and I ended up to be 5'6". And so, even though we're out of the same clutch, basically, um, they can have different sizes and different physical structures.
Has she been introduced to Helen?
She has seen Helen. In fact, her first night with us here, I put her downstairs in our unfinished room down in the basement where both Helen and Belle sleep at night, and put her on a perch across the room, and they pretty much ignored each other. They The thing that people don't realize is they don't bond for life. Basically, once they're on their own and flying, um, then they become pretty much loners until such time as they are old enough to breed, and then they will pair bond with a mate, but with nobody else. And so, as far as Helen was concerned, and as far as this one was concerned, it was just another falcon. They don't recognize it as as sisters.
So we just gonna keep calling her No Name?
Well, that's actually, if anyone has a good suggestion of a name for her, I'm certainly open to that. We because she will be with me um, for several months and possibly the rest of her life. So it would be nice to give her a name. And so any suggestions would be appreciated. My baby. There's my girl.
KS says, I love the sounds she makes.
Yeah, that's her telling me that she doesn't like me. Even though I provide her with food and shelter and water and treat her very, very kindly, it's going to take her a little while to warm up. She truly is, in every respect, a wild peregrine falcon.
Mary is with us. She says, good morning and greetings from the Big Bear Lake Bald Eagle Group. Love Jackie, Shadow, and Baby Eaglet.
Well, hi, Mary. Nice to hear from you. Looking forward to coming up and doing a show again. I believe it's in August. And we'll talk more about that as it gets closer.
And she also asked, now that she's taking food from the glove, will you start lure training soon?
Well, it'll be a little while yet. Right now, she does take a few bites from the glove, but she's not eating vigorously. And so the first thing we have to do is to get her comfortable enough that she will eat a lot of food. I want her to eat as much as she can possibly handle. And in the process of doing that, what we will do, oh, I know you want to bite me. That's okay. I know you do. And so once she gets comfortable enough from me that she doesn't bite me anymore, and that she is um, is eating large meals, then we then we will weigh her and get our base weight. And then once we get the base weight, once we know how much she weighs when she's at her absolute fattest, then at that point, then we subtract somewhere between 10 and 20% of that heaviest weight, and that will get us in the ballpark as to what she needs to be when she is flying free. So at that point, we slowly bring her weight down to what we call flying weight from base weight, and then we start the lure flying. And we'll do everything we can to kind of document this process with her, and so that's kind of one of the reasons we kind of decided we'd bring her up. Oh, I know. That's my fingers.
So you said when she got there, she was like super about as plump as she can possibly get. Have you noticed a decrease in her weight just in the time she's been with you?
No, but I really haven't been weighing her right now. All I've been trying to do is to very, very gently pick her up, very gently. Uh, I touch her with her hood, so she starts to get used to the hood around her face, so we can get her to hood. And I'm just doing the very, very minimal. Yes, I know, to get her to, yes, to to put up with things. And so this, like I said, this is going to be a long process. Now, a peregrine falcon right from the wild that is what we call passage, which is basically it's less than a year old, is considered one of the finest falcons in the world. Um, they the peregrine falcon has a really nice disposition at about a year, at less than a year old, out of the wild. They're, let's say, they're not quite as set in their ways, and so they're one of the most uh, highly prized, one of the most trainable birds of prey in the world. People love these unautumn peregrines. Um, but at 6 years old, we have an awful lot of issues, and so it's just going to take longer. It will take a little more patience. It'll take the loss of more small pieces of skin from my hand, uh, the, until she kind of comes to the point where she sees me as a friend, and as a benefit to her, and not something that she needs to be afraid of. So it's going to be a bit of a process. Um, I don't think we'll start to reduce weight for at least one more week and maybe two, and then another week or two to get the weight to flying weight. So it'll be probably a month before we start to introduce her to the lure.
So we've got some names rolling in. Lady Figment says Ella. Let's see. Andy says Jackie. Jacob suggests Valkyrie or Valkyrie, whatever that is. Let's see some more here. We have one. Landline says Liberty. Just passing
Mm-hmm.
through, I suggest Millie. And somebody said here, Michelle says Harmony is a nice name since you and her will have a beautiful bond.
We sure
And
hope so.
Karen says, how about Nova?
Well, that's not bad.
Joker says Aviat? Aviat? I don't know how to say that. Crick Dog says Millie would be a good name. Helen Keller's sister was named Mildred.
Ah, that's not a bad name.
And then Ray Ray also says Nova is a beautiful name. Mooney
Let,
says
let,
Nova or Aurora.
okay. Let me tell you why my Eagle Scout got the name Scout, if this will help everybody a little bit. Um, my previous Eagle was named Bud, and Bud and I had been dear friends and partners. Again, he was a depredation eagle, and he was my first eagle that was my eagle, not my first rescue. I've cared for eagles for 50 years, but to be licensed to go out and trap a wild eagle for the purposes of falconry, I was the first person licensed to be able to do that. And so Bud was my first eagle. Bud and I were together for 16 years. He was a dear friend. He we had an amazing relationship together, he and I. And uh, about 20 years ago or so, he was bitten by a mosquito and died of West Nile virus. And West Nile in adult eagles is almost 100% fatal. And so it was absolutely crushing to have lost him and to lose such a dear, dear friend. And then I was given the opportunity to go up and rescue Scout up in Wyoming. And so when I got Scout, we were trying to think of a good name for it. And as I was thinking of names, I was kind of reflecting back on my Eagle Bud and all of the things that we did together. See, Bud and I traveled throughout the Western United States doing school programs, Scout programs, community event programs, and all of these Boy Scout Eagle Courts of Honors that I would do with him. Um, I kind of remembered that Scout was truly a dear friend. He was amazing. And Scout was trustworthy. And he was loyal. And he was very helpful. And he was really friendly to me. And he was very courteous and he was kind. And I was thinking trustworthy, loyal, helpful, friendly, courteous, kind, obedient, cheerful, thrifty, brave, clean, and reverent is the Scout laws. And so as we have spent um, 16 years of our lives together, um, encouraging young men to become Eagle Scouts. In a real sense, my Eagle became a Scout. And so when it came to my Eagle Scout that we got, the name that I was looking for is not what an eagle is. I was looking for a name of what an eagle could become. And so my Eagle Scout became my Eagle Bud became a Scout. And so to name my second Eagle Scout was a perfect name. And I had about, 4 or 5 people. We had a name the Eagle contest, and 4 or 5 people sent that name in, and I thought that was the perfect name for Scout. And so this little gal right here, I don't know that we're going to have that kind of criteria, but we're looking for something um, for her, and you've already given me some good names, and like I said, we'll uh, pick a good name. I always have to make sure that my wife's on board. She's smarter than I am. Uh, but we'll pick a good name for her, and then we'll let everybody know what her name is.
So we've got a fundraiser going with this live chat, and Long Rider donated $100. We also got $20 from Ken Tony. Anonymous donated $10. Another anonymous for 20. Another anonymous for 20. Another anonymous for 50.
Oh,
Soccerts one donated 20, and Randall Cotton donated 150. Terry Martins donated 50, and JJ Ferris donated 50. And this is for our Hello New News fundraiser.
oh, thank you so very very much. That will help not only feed her but help us with the other animals as well. We are so grateful for your kindness and your contributions, and so yeah, I'm kind of looking forward to this. Um, I haven't had a falcon to fly in falconry in about 5 years, 4 years, and so I've been flying for the last 3 years or 4 years. I've been flying hawks, and Belle I've had for 3 years. She's Um, in fact, her birthday, what's today? Oh, our Belle's birthday is tomorrow, is the day she hatched. And so, I just, she hatched on March 22nd, I believe, is the day of her hatch. And my brain's a little bad, so maybe not quite there, but I know it was, I believe it was March 22nd was Belle's hatch. So anyway, it's a kind of an exciting time for us to have these guys. And even though this, if I were to choose a Falcon to fly here in southern Utah, um, it wouldn't be a big female peregrine. It would, my personal preference is a small male prairie falcon. Um, they're about half her size, but they're very flashy to fly, and I really enjoy them. But she needed me. You did. You needed somebody, and so I'm really pleased to start the process with her, and we'll be excited to bring everything to you guys and show you what we've been able to do.
So Corabella says, greetings from Black Hills Raptor Center, Rapid City, South Dakota.
Well, thank you, and welcome to my YouTube channel.
Melissa says she seems to be very interested in you, Martin.
Well, she is, and like I said, we still have a lot to go through. Um, I have to kind of split my time a little bit because Helen really likes to come upstairs and sit on the pole perch upstairs, and because of her bad vision, she likes to watch the TV. And she just, she sees lights and movements. I don't think she sees anything very clearly, so she does like to have her time up here as well. And so I have to kind of trade off who gets to be in the living room for the night between Belle and our new friend.
Jacob asks, is there any meaning to the sounds she makes?
Well, the sound that she was making earlier was basically, she was basically being threatening and yelling at me, and she's kind of stopped that now. So she's being a little bit bouncy, but as far as she's not being angry with me at the moment. She's just being a little bit bouncy. Oh, sweet girl. And we got food right there for you. Oh, is that right? Am I touching your toes and you don't like that? Well, that's okay. You'll get used to it, sweetie.
It might be time for the brief recap. Russell just checked in and said, I just checked in. What is a surprise? Maybe he thinks that's Helen.
Well, the surprise is this is Helen's older sister. And she doesn't have a name yet. We're still coming up with a name for her. And she's basically a rescue. She was in a breeding project for the last 5 years, and the breeder ended up disabled with a severe brain infection, and so I was called in to rescue his pair, which is Helen's mom and dad, and this female, which is Helen's older sister. And so we got the mom and dad placed in a breeding project up in northern Utah, and we're just starting the process of gentling her down to get her physically fit so that she could either be a falconry bird, potentially released to the wild, or tame enough to be an educational animal. And so we're just starting the process. So she will be with us for several months.
So BM is here and he says, hi, quite a lively one, but I imagine he's awfully disappointed, and maybe we should mention the little prop that we brought in for his benefit.
Oh, yeah, we started this live podcast with me inspecting my egg because we had several people suggest pterodactyl, and so I thought I would just play with this for a minute as we started the video to kind of prolong the concept of a pterodactyl, baby pterodactyl. And this is actually was a gift from my son. It's an ostrich egg, obviously, but I just thought I'd kid around a little bit and says, "Oh yeah, isn't that cool?"
Elizabeth asked, "Will we get to see the others who were brought in? As I recall, three were brought in."
3 were brought in. Um, I don't know. Did I get any video of those?
Yeah, we do, but we're kind of riding the line between there's stuff we want to tell you in advance so that no name here can get a name, but then there's like also kind of the whole story unfolding that we have on video that we'll release after this live stream. So it's kind of a weird thing where we wanted you up to speed, but at the same time we wanted to let you enjoy the story as it progresses out.
Yes, and so and Helen's mom and dad were only with me for one day, and we were able to get them placed and like I said, shipped out to northern Utah, and so we got them fed and settled in, and then the very next day we got them boxed up and shipped up north, and so they are currently in a breeding project, and because they are a natural breeding pair, so they there's no artificial insemination or anything like that. Because they're natural, they have to have virtually zero human contact, and so they're in a chamber together, and hopefully they'll raise several more clutches of babies. But at least they've got each other, and in a really nice chamber with plenty of food and water, so that they can basically live out their lives. And I believe they were 13 years old, the pair now, and so um, they should be breeders for a few more years before they're too old.
So just from being web geek and seeing you with various birds, especially seeing Helen so much time during live streams and everything like that, I noticed that she and her sister have very different mannerisms. But you said that mannerisms are very different from personality. So can you talk like as far as how you're discovering her personality just in these last few days that she's been with you?
Oh, absolutely. Now, um, siblings, it doesn't matter if it's humans, doesn't matter if it's falcons, doesn't matter if it's eagles, doesn't matter if it's wolves, it really doesn't matter. Every sibling, their their personality is a product of both their genetics and a product of their environment. And just like my brother, my sister, and myself, I can promise you, um, we experienced our childhoods very differently. If you ask my sister about her childhood, she'd have a completely different story than my brother and his childhood, and have a completely different story than I and my childhood, because it has to do with where we sit in the pecking order, uh, uh, and it has to do with the friends that we develop, and it has to do with our abilities and those kinds of things. So we're all very different. And so this little gal right here, like I said, not only is she genetically similar, but again different because Helen has got some problems and this one doesn't. So she is good size. So she would have most likely out of they average about 3 babies at a time, but they can have as much as 5 babies in a clutch. Because of her size and her strength, she would have probably been the bully, and basically, all of her siblings would have had to put up with this because she's a big girl. So she would have seen. So her personality, and Helen is much more slender and delicately built than this one. This one's kind of a beast. So that is how the personality is developed. It's not, no two siblings are exactly the same, and so this one so far, and we've only had her a week, and so a lot of her personality traits haven't come out yet. And then you throw on top of that Helen, which has spent her entire life mostly with me and being handled every single day, and you know given lots of opportunities for socialization and lots of opportunities to see activities. Yeah, you could buy that, to see activities and those kinds of things. So she was raised very differently. So that's, Helen's very comfortable. I did a show um, on Saturday in Las Vegas um, for an Audubon group. I've got a show tomorrow at a middle school down in St. George, Utah, and so being acclimated to all of those kinds of things, if I were to take this one down tomorrow to St. George and do a program with her, it would be a nightmare. She would be horribly terrified. It would be a trauma to her, and so we have to take the time to get her. Yes, you're going to eat for us. What a pretty girl. To get her comfortable, and the best way to get them comfortable is time. And so like I said, I spend pretty close to 8 hours a day handling her, walking around with her, feeding her. We always have food available every time she's on my glove. And so we're right now just starting to let her see cars driving by. And like I said, she likes to take bites and then throw it. So I end up with bits of food all over me. But so yeah, the right now, the her behaviors and her temperament right now over the next month or two is going to change dramatically. And so it'll be a month or so before I really know what her potential is and what her personality is. She likes to share her food. Um, I think it's, to be honest with you, because she's not terribly hungry, that this is just, she'll take a few bites. She's not driven for food, and she'll take a few bites, and so slinging it all over the place is kind of a little protest for her.
So, what is the worst thing you could do at this point, and for the state she's in?
Well, really, right now, the very worst thing I could do is to be heavy-handed. Um, Basically, you have to just have to accept who she is, sit quietly. Um, always have food available to her. We can push her comfort zones just a tiny bit. Like coming up and yes, I know you're biting me. Yes, I'll let you bite me. That's my girl. That's my girl. I know. Yes. And so just touching her gently, kind of pushing her buttons just a tiny bit, but not being heavy-handed, being extremely gentle and patient. And when she does bite me, and for which she did, when she does bite me, there's no repercussions about that. She's got a long ways to go before she's settled in and to where she's comfortable. But I know there are people out there right now that says, "Well, just go turn her loose. Just turn her loose, let her go back to the wild." And if I do that, she dies because she is not physically fit. She's, like I said, she's been in captivity for her whole life. I don't know that she's ever even flown. I really don't know. And so, but at least for the last 5 years, I know she hasn't flown. And so it is extremely important to get her fit. And the best way to get her fit is to gentle her down, which we're doing right now, and get her to accept me and to accept food, and then start introducing her to a lure and do what's called lure training, which is to get her to chase her toy and to build up her strength and her agility, so that she can have the strength necessary to return to the wild.
Well, you
So
already you already answered Karen's question here. She asked, "Can't she be released to the wild after so long, or used as educational?"
well, and that's what we're looking. That's what we're trying to figure out right now. Can she go back to the wild? I don't know. I don't know what her fitness level is going to be. It's going to take a few months to get there. Can she be used for education? At the moment, I don't know. I don't know because I don't know her emotional state, if she can handle, um, tomorrow, Scout, Helen, and Belle and I are going, and we're going to do a school assembly program where we're going to stand in uh, a gym with probably 500 uh, middle school students sitting on the bleachers. It's going to be loud. It's going, and in right now, this one couldn't take that. But Helen and Belle and Scout have been properly manned and gentled and acclimated that it doesn't even phase them. And so we'll find out in a couple 3 months where she's at emotionally and see if she can be used for education.
TS says that would hurt if she gets a hold of a finger.
I like I tell everybody. People ask, do you ever get bitten? I says every day, and I always have little bites, chunks of flesh out of my hand. That's normal, and so you just kind of ignore it and just kind of continue on, um, and it's the calmness that allows her. Yes, hi, baby girl. It's the calmness. It's that allows us to work with these animals, and you know these animals are very, very um, acute to stress. And so that's one thing I try to, when I have a student, and I tell my student, if you're having a bad day, if you're mad at your kids, or you had a stressful day at work, or whatever it is, don't handle your bird. For the simple fact that if you come at these birds and you're in a stress mood, the bird picks up that stress mood, and the bird says there's something wrong with my falconer, and so he's stressed. So there's obviously something wrong in the environment, so I'm going to be stressed, and then it just escalates and becomes a real problem. So you want to handle these birds with a very, very calm attitude, so that they don't pick up any unnecessary stress from you. I'm a pretty girl. Yeah, I know. I know. You're such a pretty lady.
Jack Krill asks, what would you say is your favorite bird of prey? Not talking about in falconry or raptor education, but just as a wild bird.
Wow. Just as a wild bird. I really love these animals for different reasons. Um, Golden eagles are just one of my very favorites. They are beautiful. They are spectacular to watch fly. They are majestic. They are, in my opinion, one of the smartest animals on the planet. And to have an opportunity to work with a golden eagle is was my life stream that I was able to accomplish. And so I love golden eagles. The large falcons. Uh, there is nothing in nature that can compare to a large falcon like this peregrine, or a prairie, or a gyr falcon, sacred falcon, whatever large falcon. There's nothing that can compare to watching these guys basically leave my glove, circle up into the sky 1,000, 2,000 feet, uh, to where they're literally a pin speck in high powered binoculars, and then that little tiny pin speck way up there, straight overhead, and you flush a duck or a pheasant or a pigeon, and then watch that pin speck fall vertically, literally 200 miles an hour down right out of the sky, and attempt to strike that duck, pheasant, or pigeon and blow it up. Um, that is such a magnificent sight to see. Um, there is there is no animal on the planet that is as fast as the large falcons. Um, there, it is so much fun to watch the hawks. Not only Belle out chasing rabbits, and she's so good at it, but to be here in my yard, and I have Cooper's hawks chasing my pigeons, or sharpshin hawks chasing sparrows, and the skill, the agility is just super fun to watch. Um, but I would love to see a harpy eagle in the wild. I got to work with four harpy eagles back in California. I'd love to see one in the wild. I would like to see a Marshall's eagle in the wild. I would love to see, um, several of the accipiter, uh, a crested goshawk or a Finnish goshawk or any of these. I mean, just the list goes on and on and on and on and on. It's really hard to say a favorite when all of them are magnificent.
So we're up to $570 raised in honor of a little no name here. Light
Oh,
Expeditions donated $10. Crick Dog donated 20. Crystal donated 50. And that looks like the end of our donations right now.
thank you everyone so much for helping us with the critters. It really really means the world to us to be able to take this and we've got our brand new facility that we're building and I can't tell you how much this helps us. It means everything.
So
Oh,
we're down to the last 8 minutes. We've got 150 people watching, and we know this is probably our very interested type of core audience that's still with us. So maybe we should ask something about your house.
okay, something about my house.
Something what happened with your house. Remember you were talking about maybe mentioning it?
Oh, um, something that's really really personal to me personally. A goal that I had in my life. Uh, it has taken me 43 years, but last week we made our last house payment. We are now mortgage free, and not only are we mortgage free, but Susan and I are very very careful with our resources. We have 20-year-old cars, and we don't have a car payment. We don't have a house payment. Um, we don't. We are 100% debt free, and so I know that doesn't mean anything to anybody else, but to me, um, it was I considered a major accomplishment in my life. My parents and Susan's parents um, basically were never ever debt free, and so that was a goal for me to become debt free. And as I'm getting older, this is going to help out a great deal because our income will start to go down as Susan and I are no longer able to run our business and those kinds of things. It's okay, sweetie. Hey, I know you're okay. Such a baby. So anyway, that was it. It wasn't anything that really happened to the house, other than we were able to after 43 years pay it off.
Well, you're getting all kinds of congrats and congratulations in the comments. Big old yay. Got it. That is
Yes.
awesome. Got another congratulations. Randall says, fantastic. Congratulations, Martin and Susan. And then Joker says, that's amazing and congratulations. So
Well,
there's
like I
your
said,
there's
it
your
was just
balloons. Everybody's happy. Yay!
yeah. I was so disappointed. I, Susan and I, we were getting down to the point of being able just to go to the bank and make our last house payment in person because I wanted to do it in person. I didn't want to do it, mailing a payment or doing it online. I wanted to walk into the bank and says, "Here, this is my last house payment," and the clerk behind the counter says, "Okay, thank you." And it says, "But this is my last payment." And it says, "Yeah, we we logged it. Thank you." And it was a disappointment. I but thank you everybody for congratulating
There's the
us. It's
balloons.
there's the balloons.
And oh,
Thank you
we
so much.
we do need to also talk about this little thing, right? Let's see that.
Our book, absolutely, Healer of Angels. Um, we got our book out. It's a fun read if you like animal stories. On the cover of the book that you see right there, there is my golden eagle scout and I. And on the back of the cover is my golden eagle. I can show you the back here. Let's go this way, I guess. You can see my golden eagle. That's Bud on the back of the cover, and he's passed away. And on the inside of the front cover, that is Scout's footprint. So it's the only book autographed by a wild eagle. And again, the profits from the sale of the book go to our rescue center to help us feed the animals. And if you order these directly off the website, we get the profits, and it helps us feed animals. So if you like stories, and then we also have T-shirts on our store. We have some of my photography and those kinds of things to help raise money for the critters. And so we're always grateful for that. Any last questions about our new little friend here? And thank you for the name suggestions. A couple of those actually sounded pretty good. Whether we, since she is Helen's sister, name her after Helen's sister, or we'll discuss it with my sweet wife Susan and come up with a good name for her. So thank you so much.
Well, we did have
Last
one
question.
one more question from a name. Do you take summer interns? I am a falconer and raptor rehabber in California.
Uh, we are not currently set up to take interns at this moment. We're building a brand new raptor rescue center. In fact, if all goes well, the Eagle Flight Chamber, which is a total of 40 feet wide and 100 feet long, that building should be delivered sometime in May. And so we've got a lot of construction getting these new facilities up. Um, and then once the new facilities are complete, then we'll have room for more volunteer help.
Pogo asks, is she panting because she's nervous or warm?
Well, she's panting because she's a little warm. Birds are air cooled, so they basically, when they fly, they're going through the air, and it helps to cool them off. And so she's been active in flapping her wings, and it is about, I think I set the temperature in the house to 68 degrees, so that's a tiny bit warm. And so, as active as she's been, she's panting a little bit, but she's okay.
So we got to talk about how we're going to announce the name and how we're going to choose. Like I can take all the name suggestions from the chat, but do you want to keep it open or?
Why don't we keep it open for a day or two, and maybe announce it in a couple of days?
Okay, and probably people will leave more names and comments and everything, so we'll just put it all together, and I'll link to a page where everything's together. People can let us know what they like.
Sounds good.
Okay, so any last words?
Well, just thank you guys for putting up with our little teasers. Um, I'm really excited to have this sweet little lady, and we'll see what her future holds, but it's a lot brighter now than it was. So we're going to do our very best to turn her back into a Peregrine Falcon like she should be. So thanks, guys. We'll talk to you soon.